Welcome to the WWH show. Today I have the honor to talk a topic which is very, very important to you and all of us, which is why some people stop growing and end up stagnant. Here in our studio, I have the privilege to talk to Ron Cooper. He is a pilot with the U.S. Air Force. He's certified John Maxwell speaker, coach, and trainer. And he's active in his community to empower them reach their maximum potential. Ron, thank you very much for coming.
Assegid, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, your audience, and this topic of growth is very important. Some people understand it, but not everybody does. So
that's why we have it here.
Really looking forward to interacting with you and your audience.
Okay, let's begin our discussion by asking why growth is very, very important for individuals. Why we should talk about it?
Sure. Growth does not occur naturally. Now, I can talk about growth in the context of eating. As a young child, when we eat, we grow taller. And as we get older, we maybe grow wider. So that type growth certainly can occur. What we're talking about, Assegid, is growing mentally. That takes time. That takes a discipline and really takes a plan. So it is, and it takes long term. We can start today with your audience and talk about the fundamentals of growth, but it really is a long range plan. Really, the person who's growing never stops growing.
Yeah, whenever you think that you're grown enough, I think that's when you should die, because you have to grow every day. And as far as you are living in this world, if you want to be relevant, you have to grow. But I want to talk about the growth that we're talking about. The growth we're talking about is a holistic growth, which means, for example, if I want to be successful in my relationship, if I want to be successful in my business, in my profession, in my career, in my friendship, in my association, I have to grow. If I don't grow, means I am not tapping into my full potential. So growth is very important for various purposes, for us to be successful and remain successful.
Assegid, you're absolutely right. Growth to achieve success in however we define success. Some people think success is having a lot of money. Some people think success is having a lot of friends. And there may be other definitions of success. So I'm not here to define whatever personal definition of success is. But the other part of this is potential. That's very, very important. I'm a believer everyone has potential, but not everyone reaches that potential because some of us have limitations. Some of us focus in areas on those limitations where really we need to be focusing on our strengths. And when we focus on strengths, we know what our strengths are. We capitalize on those strengths and focus there. Just acknowledge our limitations, but we don't try to develop the limitations to be our strengths because they probably won't be.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if we focus too much on our limitations, we tend to become frustrated. Maybe we just stop growing because we never really reach the level of success that we would like to because we're focused in the wrong place.
Yeah, if I hear you correctly, you are saying that our growth should be on our strength, not on our weaknesses, because I understand that if we invest lots of time to grow in our limitations, on our weaknesses, it's a wastage of time. Rather, why don't we focus on our strength, find out our strengths? Of course, there are many tools, or as we discussed earlier, we can find someone to help us identify our strength and then invest on those strengths rather than investing on our weaknesses and on our limitations.
No, that's very well said, Assegid. We do want to identify our strengths and then continue to grow, learn about, and build on our strengths. Now, one of the problems we have is, well, some people will say, well, I don't have any strengths. Well, no, I know you do.
Yeah.
Everybody has strengths.
Exactly.
Sometimes we just go through life and we don't put enough focus on strengths to where we can know where our strengths are. Here's where our association with other people is so very, very important. We want to associate with those who are socially and economically where we would like to be. to maybe at the next level, but we're continuously associating with those who are where we would like to be. Those people are the type that can help identify our strengths. And
Exactly.
we just acknowledge our weaknesses, but when we identify the strengths, we build a growth plan
Yes.
on those strengths.
Yes. It gives us focus, because if I am looking up to someone, my mentor, my coach, or my friend, my colleague, then I have a focus. I have a role model to follow, because I'm not straying. I'm not jumping here and there. I have a focus, so I may emulate them. I may see how they behave, how they make decisions, how they grow, and then I copy that and follow the footstep of my mentors, my coach, and also my mentees, I could say coach, mentors, or friends, and
You
so
are
on and
correct.
so forth. But why is growth very hard for some people? Many people I see that they grow fast and then they don't grow anymore. They stagnate. So why is growth very hard for some people?
That's a very important question. I will tell you, Assegid, I think that there may be a couple of reasons why growth is difficult. One, it requires a discipline. Just like you said earlier, if you're not focused, it's going to be very easy to get sidetracked on different things. And there is a discipline. There's a mental discipline to growth. We need to read books. We need to be very careful about those with whom we associate. And really, it's developing the mind. And it takes a while to do that. And so we need to focus on that. And the other part of this is the discipline and the focus, but it may be difficult to believe, but some people have a fear as they grow that, will I be the success? Will I be the person I hope to be? And then some people, even as they are able to achieve that level of success, they're saying, oh my, I don't know that I can process all of this and actually do it.
And then they withdraw.
And sometimes they withdraw. And so there requires a very disciplined approach. But here's where the mentor, the coach, can help you, help the person who might have some fears. And I will tell you, Assegid, almost all of us have fears of some sort.
Yes. The degree may vary.
And it will vary from person to person. The coach or the mentor, and those are two totally different roles.
Yes.
The coach will help you identify and overcome the fears that we may have. The mentor, through the example, that is the person to whom we look up, can help us get to exactly where we want to be. So we need to overcome internally any of those things that will keep us from getting to where we want to be. Potential, we mentioned that in the beginning.
I like the point you mentioned, the difference between a mentor and a coach. I like that because most of the time I meet people, they tell me that I need a coach, I need a coach. I don't hear much about I need a mentor. But as far as I'm concerned, as much as coaches are very important, mentors are also very critical to grow and also be successful, because these are people who have walked ahead of you and they know the ups and the downs. They have experience, they have discernment because they lived it. For example, I may have a coach who doesn't have any, let's say, experience, whatever, and he may coach me, for example, on how to use Twitter or Facebook and so on. Fine. But I need a mentor. For example, for me to grow in character, to grow in my personality, communication ability, and so on and so forth. So the mentor is a very critical person in my growth who may help me take my growth to the next level.
That is correct. And I will tell you, Assegid, mentor, the ones who function best as mentor, is a person with whom you've developed a trust, respect, and confidence. It's not just because I say, Assegid, I will mentor you. We need to connect, and we need to be right with each other.
Yeah.
So I could, as a mentor, be an example to you. So I will help you by showing you what I recommend you should do. It's up to you to follow. Now, the difference between a mentor and a coach is they're two totally different things. When I coach you, the answer to any challenges you may have actually lie within you.
Yep.
So I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. I'm going to help you to overcome anything that may be a weakness or an inhibitor to growth. What happens many times is you're just not aware of your potential, but through coaching, I can help you be aware of your potential for the maximum growth to achieve success that you can have. The difference, again, mentor, I can maybe help show you the road to success, but if you need to overcome internally any fears, I can help you with that by coaching.
Do you have any example where you helped people from being stagnant, where you coach them or mentor them? Do you have any example?
I do. Thank you for asking that. And many people have reached a plateau. They just seem that they can't get to beyond where they need to go to reach their full potential. What happens frequently is people are just not aware of some of the challenges they have. And yes, I have worked with several people by coaching them. They are aware of the challenges or limitations they have, and actually by coaching them through questions and in trying to add clarity, we help that person become more aware of the fears and so forth. Now, by being aware of the fear, you're also helping them to overcome that fear. So there is awareness that we need to have through coaching. And yes, I have worked with several people who have just been plateaued at just achieving only a certain level, and they want to reach what is commonly known as the next level. And through coaching, yes, we're able to help them to break through the barriers to achieve their maximum potential.
What are the key areas of growth?
I would say the key areas of growth are, one, a discipline. You must have a discipline, and that is going back to focus. The other thing is you must have a plan. Growth doesn't just happen. You don't just live life. You don't just let time go. You must have a plan. So identify the strengths, identify your limitations, set the limitations aside, and if we focus on the strengths, we have a plan. So let's work the plan together. The plan requires a discipline, and that discipline might be in the form of we're going to read the right books. And that may be, for those who maybe are not good readers, maybe just 15 minutes a day. But if you develop the habit and you have a passion to capitalize on strengths, you're going to say, well, 15 minutes a day is not enough. We're going to up that to 20, maybe 30 minutes a day, but we're reading all the time. Leaders are readers. So if you want to lead, and that's almost always a part of the definition of success, I want to lead people, I must read. So reading is a part of the pattern that we need to develop, the plan.
Yeah, I like the reading part. I don't remember the statistics, but I think it was like successful CEOs, they read 4 books per month. That's why they are successful, that's why they are ahead of the curve, and that's why they are paid millions of dollars. So think about it, they read 1 book per week. But the statistics, I think it's a rough statistics that generally people, let's say, only 3% of the population read 1 book per year. That was disappointing for me when I heard that. And that's why I was wondering, okay, that's why the successful people in the world are very, very small, because these are the people who read, the people who grow. So if somebody want to grow, there is no, to be successful, there is no way that they can be successful without reading, without growing. One thing you mentioned I like about is, which you briefly mentioned, but I want to take a little bit time on that one. You said, set aside your limitations. So we already talked before. When we say set aside your limitations, we're not saying that ignore them. For example, marketing is not my strength. What I do is I team up with people. For example, we were chatting about how to market ourselves and so on. So I team up with people. And also, I hire somebody to cover my limitations. So when you say ignore them or set them aside, means we find people who may complement us. I want to emphasize, we talked already about that, but I want to emphasize to our audience.
That is very well stated, that when I say set aside our limitations, really maybe a better term is be aware of our limitations.
Awareness, yes.
I am not strong in organizing. If I have a pile of boxes right here and I need to organize those, that is not my strength. I can get confused very easily.
Yeah.
I'll ask my wife to help me with that. But
Yeah.
if I recognize those limitations, then I can look to people like you that your strength might be organizing. So I want to partner with people like you, Assegid. So that's why it's important to recognize our limitations, but on a scale of 0 to 10, if I have a weakness of, let's say, a 1 or 2, I might be able to study real hard, and I may be able to read and improve that 2 and get up to a 4 or 5, but no one's going to pay for average.
Yeah.
5 is an average on a scale of 10. So I might be able to get to average, but it's the strengths that I can improve from 8, maybe get to a 9 and maybe a 10.
Yes.
I will excel at that. So I want to help people to develop their potential and strength. And I'm going to go back just one thing very quickly. Reading is very important. I may not be able to read 4 books a month, may not be able to read that quickly, but it's very important to read, but it's equally important, in fact, very important, that we know whom we're reading from or learning from. So when we read, we learn. Very important that we know who we're learning from. The source is extremely important. So if we learn from the wrong person,
we end up
we're going to end
even degrading rather than growing.
Degrading rather than growing. And
Yes.
we may plateau earlier than if we are growing with a person who's growing as well. So we pattern ourselves after those kind of people.
Yeah, so association is also very important.
Association
here.
is
You already
extremely-
mentioned it. It's very important because if I'm associating, I don't remember who said that, but I heard that if you are the smartest person in your group, leave. Because you have to always find people who are stretching you, who are taking you to the next level. In that way, you don't plateau. You always grow because the people you associate, they grow. So they help you grow. You could be able to see that they're growing, so it inspires you, and you grow together. But if you are associating with people who are against growth, or people who are not passionate about growing, then you, without knowing, I don't know exactly now the source for this one too. I heard that if you have a friend, for example, who is let's say eating, excessively and become obese, and so on and so forth. If you keep on associating with that person, that you may be influenced. I don't know how much scientifically true that is. So if you associate with someone who is eating excessively, then you may also subconsciously develop that, and you may start to eat a lot. So in other areas, the same. If you are associating with someone who is always backbiting people, someone who is always negative, and so on, you end up becoming that person without knowing, because we have this inner personality that just absorbs everything that comes in its way. So yes, association is very important.
You expressed a lot of wisdom in everything you just said, Assegid, that we do almost unconsciously become like the person with whom we associate. Eating, drinking, bad habits, anything like that. We sometimes take on those characteristics and we're not aware of that.
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
Awareness. And so we need to be very aware of those things that promote growth, but also we need to be aware of those things that might stagnate growth and or otherwise inhibit our growth. So yes, our association with those that are growing, and you are very wise in saying you don't want to be the smartest person in your group, because you always want to aspire to be something greater than what you are. And when a person who is at a level where you choose to be, would like to be, you grow through that person. Now here's the other thing. It is important to read, and many times we're going to be reading at home alone. But to get the best application to learn about ourselves, our strengths, to be aware of us, is to associate with other people. So what I read, I want to learn, but I want to know how to best apply that within my skill set, my strengths, and so forth. So when I can associate with you, Assegid, you can help me by saying that my strengths are, I in turn do that with you. And the book that we're perhaps reading together, this is how we can apply the principles of that book. So we're always working together. I can share ideas and applications that you have that I would have never thought about. So it's very important to always be in a group.
So you're talking about accountability partner, because it's very hard for us to be alone and then grow, because it's very hard to make sure that we are growing, because it's very hard for us to look into ourselves, because we all have blind spots. We all have this unawareness somewhere. So if I have an accountability partner, if we are growing together, there is a way, Eugene, he's our common friend.
Yes.
We have this accountability partnership. Every 2 weeks, we call each other and talk about what we have achieved so far, what we are planning to do. So when we meet next time, what happened to that plan? What happened to... So when you have someone who's an accountability partner for you, it's very easy for you to watch if you have a plan, and if you're not implementing it, that person makes you accountable. If you are missing something for your growth, that person tells you from his experience or her experience, and then you learn from that person and you grow. So it's wise to have people who are your accountability partner.
That's always, and again, you're very wise in saying what you said. I actually have two categories of accountability partners, one such as you, Eugene, and others who are in our circle of influence. Those are very important people to me, that they do hold me accountable. Did I read? Did I do what I said I would do? Am I keeping with my plan, or did I get sidetracked? Now, my other accountability partner is my wife. And so as I'm working with the audience, if you were married, you want to be sure that you are partnered with your wife, and that you have a relationship that he or she can be very honest with you. So my accountability partner, my wife at home, is exactly that. She knows me very well. She holds me accountable. She's about half my size, but I feel as if I married way up in marrying her.
I like that. That's a smart move. You mentioned about having multiple accountability partners. Martin.
Yes.
Martin is also my mentor,
Good.
which means we work together. Every time when I have a project, he supports me. He provides me feedback, and I learn by watching him. So yes, we have to have multiple accountability partners depending on where we want to grow. And if people are married, or if they have boy or girlfriends, that's a good way to tap into that relationship, because these people know us, our weaknesses and our strengths. Some of the accountability partners we have, they may not tell us, some of our weaknesses. If we demonstrate, let's say, some pride, for example, they may not tell us. But people like our wives or our husbands, our boyfriends or girlfriends, they are very close to us. And sometimes if we act proud, they tell us, hey, you're acting proud here. You're showing off here. Well, calm down. So you have to have people who are going to be straight with you, who care about you, who love you, so that they even tell you something you're not prepared to hear. So it's very important, because you may have friends. They may always tell you how great you are. Yes, you need this kind of cheerleaders. That's good. But you should have also people who are straight shooters. Tell you, hey, you're stumbling here. Here, this is not right. Don't do this way, because this is wrong. So you have to have that kind of people very close to you, so that you don't really need to stumble publicly, because they correct you in private.
You are correct. Again, very wise. And it is appropriate to have multiple accountability partners. Now, that's different from a mentor. Now, a mentor could be an accountability partner, but the accountability partner is not necessarily a mentor. Yeah. So the accountability partner helps you stay on track with the discipline you need to work the plan that you have, the growth plan. Yes. And so that person can help very well that way. A mentor, on the other hand, is the person that is what you strive to be at some point.
Yes.
Now, it's very appropriate that you may have multiple mentors, because mentors have their strengths, and they may only have one of the strengths that complement yours, and so you may have multiple mentors who work with you, Assegid. Again, you develop the trust, respect, and confidence in this person I'm not a believer that just because a person can be a mentor, should be a mentor, because we need to connect. We need to have that very honest rapport, just as you very eloquently said a moment ago. If I have a weakness, a blind spot, I want for that person to be able to share with me, and I want to be able to have the rapport that together we can overcome any blind spots, any limitations that I may have. So because we're developing character and values in our growth plan, and that's all a part of our potential to strive towards success, to whatever
Ron,
degree we
I
define.
like what you said about having multiple mentors, because some of my mentors, they are very far away, but I want to learn from them. So I have virtual mentors. So what I advise to our audience is that, for example, you appreciate and admire, you have a role model who is or she is far away from you. You may not be able to get in touch with them in person, or maybe they are expensive. I mean, they are very busy. You can't really get hold on them and have, let's say, one-on-one with them. So you should have virtual mentors. For example, for both of us, John Maxwell is our mentor.
Correct.
I could say that because he's virtual mentor to me. I read every book he publishes. I buy almost the majority of his CDs and DVDs. I don't want to miss any product that he produces, which means he's my virtual mentor. I cannot really get him in person. He's a mentor for millions of people, so there is no way that he will give me 30 minutes or an hour every week to mentor me. But I don't want that to stop me from using him as my mentor, because I can always use his products and services.
Right.
So some people, for example, if they want you to mentor them, coach them, if they are in the metro area, yes, you can help them in person. Let's say they are in other states. They can still use technology, let's say Skype or Google Hangouts or other teleconference and so on.
Right.
But let's say you are very busy. They couldn't get hold on you, or whatever reason, they couldn't be able to get you in person or virtually using technology. In that case, at least they have to find out your products and your services, and they use you as your mentor, because sometimes, for example, here in this studio, we have only 30 minutes or 45 minutes. It's impossible to get everything out of you within this short period of time. If I'm wise, I will go forward to your website and then find out the blogs that you're writing. I can use you as my virtual mentor and buy your books, or if you have some services, I'll subscribe to that service too. So we should not always depend on people who are very close to us to mentor us. We can also find virtual mentors.
You are exactly right, Assegid. And I'm going to reflect back to what we were saying earlier, that reading books and having a virtual mentor is very important. Yes. But it's very important that you know who that virtual mentor is, that you know everything about that person, so that you know that what you're reading is well-founded. It is grounded in truth. And so we want to know that truth. We want to become very familiar with the person from whom we're learning. Yes. Now, the other part, the valuable part of having I'll call it a real-time mentor, is that, Assegid, you as my mentor can tell me in real time, how do I best apply what I just learned from my virtual mentor and apply that to what I need to overcome any limitations, such that I can achieve the level of success that I want. You and I will have developed that trust and respect with each other, and you as my mentor can tell me, here's what you need to do to best apply that information we just read about from the virtual mentor to help me achieve my maximum potential.
I think I can use you, for example, for our audience's sake, that let's say that you are mentoring me to develop a growth plan. Now let's talk a little bit about that. As a mentor, what do you recommend me and how do you work with me? Let's say that the goal is to help me grow, and you suggested that I should come up with a growth plan.
Yes.
And then what do you do?
All right, and that's a very good question, because that's very, very important. The growth plan. What I would do, Assegid, is work with you to develop and identify your strengths. Not develop, but identify your strengths. And then concurrently, we identify your weaknesses. Now, we work in with that what your goals and objectives are. What long-term do you want to do? What would you like to achieve?
So the center of this is the mentee, because you are trying to help that person grow. So the first thing you do is to ask that person's goal.
Yes.
Rather than giving him a goal or objective or telling him to do that and this.
Oh, well, I would never tell a person what they need to achieve, what they should achieve. But what I will do is help that person develop a plan. Could be 5 to 10 years out of what is it you want to do, what is it you want to be. And so with having defined that long-term goal, I can then help you craft a plan to get from where you are to where you want to be. So now, the where you are is identifying your strengths, your weaknesses, and we have to be very candid with each other that, it's very difficult for many of us to identify a fear. Because
we have to be honest, because if we are afraid of something, we don't want to tell to the other person, but you can't help me if I'm not telling you.
Exactly. And I will say that if I could maybe say one thing that would help an audience, we all have fears. Let's just acknowledge
I admit I have fears, yes.
And we have limitations. That is not anything of which we need to be fearful of. We just do.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody is perfect.
So we should not
and
worry.
So let's just identify those things that are attributes that are a part of us. Let's put those out on the table. And what we can do as a mentor and developing a growth plan is, one, define what you want to be, where you want to be. What is your definition of success? And I would encourage people as well, Assegid, you never reach your destination. It's always a journey. You're always moving forward. So as soon as you approach a goal where you want to be, what you want to be, we always want to move it out further, because you never want to stop your growth plan. You're always dynamic in a growth plan. So I may help you reach or define a goal that's maybe 1 year away. I mean, if we define it only as 10 years away, that may be mentally you thinking it's unachievable. Yeah. But I want to help you develop a plan that's both near term and longer term. So that's just generally how we're going to craft a plan together. And then as an accountability partner, I'm going to help you to stay with that plan. Did you do what we know you need to do to continue along your growth plan?
Let's say I have already a growth plan. So how do I know whether I am growing or not? So the question is, what are the signs that I know I'm growing?
And I will tell you, Assegid, that's very important. I use the term metrics. As I have a growth plan, how do I know if I'm achieving different things? And so a part of the growth plan is to do certain things, but then once I have reached some part of my growth, what have I achieved? Is there something, let's say, objective that I can say, now I feel that I can work this, I can do this. So what we want to do is, as a part of this growth plan, is to identify, I'm going to use the term metrics, that how do I know if I'm growing in this or not? Part of that is the mentor, who can work with you and say, Assegid, let's think back to where you were when we first got started, and you apparently are much more aware of things that you were not aware of before, and you've been able to achieve. I will tell you one thing that a part of a growth plan is maybe fear of rejection. I don't want to go out of my comfort zone to maybe meet people, but I need to overcome fear of rejection. Exactly. And so that's just one area, just one example that as I'm able to, or as working together, you are able to develop the growth to work outside your comfort zone. You're able to talk with people, do something that before, I couldn't do that because I had the fear of rejection.
By the way, it's very interesting. Yesterday, I think yesterday or before yesterday, I posted on my LinkedIn account about this, the same issue. I said that people miss opportunities because they are afraid of rejections. And for me, rejection, if I am scared of rejection, means maybe I'm prideful. I don't want to really face, rejection because pride is getting in my way. But if I don't have any pride, if I'm humble, I always take chances. I want to tell, and then face rejection. It's not a big deal. I prefer to be rejected than finding ways to connect with someone else or seek opportunities, ask opportunities. If you are rejected, that's fine. But let's talk about more on the signs. For example, Ron, you came from Maryland to Virginia. Let's say that there were no signs on the road. Would you be able to be here on time?
No, it's very very well you said that. No, I need to know along the route
Sign that
the
guide you
signs
here.
that
The same way the growth, you need to have signs. You have
Sure.
to look for those signs. Oh, I'm growing. Oh, I'm very close to my destination.
Yes. Now, here's one possibility of some signs. Now, let's just say, for example, that you do fear rejection, and concurrent with that, I don't know how to start a conversation. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. One of the signs along the way, are we making progress, is I work with you, Assegid, and just help you with the confidence that I can come up to a person I've never met before, but I can start a conversation. I would say that one of the things that I would encourage you to do is to just ask questions to learn about that person. And there's some conversations, quite honestly, are going to be a little more difficult to keep going and so forth. But as I make that person feel comfortable, that person is going to feel more like having a dialogue with me. So I'm asking them about themselves. I'm not here to tell that person about me. So if I put the focus on them, then they will likely be more receptive to continue a conversation. So getting out of my comfort zone and being able to start a conversation might be one of the signs that we're talking about of growth.
Yes.
That I may set as a goal, a part of my growth plan. This week, I want to start 5 conversations, possibly with people that I don't know. And I just want to learn about them, and I want to feel comfortable that I can just start a conversation. Almost everybody, Assegid, wants to talk with you. They want the confidence to know that you are a person who is well-grounded, you know where you're going. That's all a part of a growth plan, that as people see confidence in you, they're going to say, Assegid, I would like to be like you. They may not use it in words, but they're going to feel very comfortable associating and talking with you.
Exactly. You mentioned about vulnerability, because when we grow, one of the signs is vulnerability. I have to be open enough to share my fears, my weaknesses, limitations. I think the mentor too, he may also open up, maybe vulnerable a little bit, to encourage a mentee to be open. Unless we open, I like what our mentor, John C. Maxwell, said. He said, growth demands a temporary surrender of security. It may mean giving up familiar but limiting patterns, safe but unrewarding work, values no longer believed in, and relationships that have lost their meaning. So one of the things we should do to grow is to let go of insecurity.
Yes. Now, security, I think, is a very important topic. That if I am insecure, I am not going to be very willing to talk with you about my limitations. But if I'm secure in myself, if I'm secure in my growth, if I'm secure in basically who I am, then I'm going to be much more willing to share with you my vulnerabilities. I can tell you that in the younger years, I was very reluctant to ask a girl out for a date, because I just knew I was going to be rejected. And I was a one and done kind of person. I just, one date, they're done, move on to somebody else. But I knew that I just did not have the confidence in myself. I didn't have the confidence to even have this conversation with you years ago. But as I have read books, as I've associated with people like you, Assegid, I develop a confidence in myself. It's not arrogance, it's just that you feel more sure about yourself. And through that, I'm able to share with you my vulnerabilities. I am vulnerable in that there's still a little bit of a fear of rejection. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable perhaps going out into a large crowd of people, such as even your audience maybe, and just sharing with them. So as you and I can work together, as we associate, you can help me overcome those fears and limitations. And I feel more comfortable about myself. But that's exactly what growth is all about, being able to share vulnerabilities so that we grow together.
Yeah, by the way, in my own life, I started to see growth when I am willing to be vulnerable and share my weaknesses and limitations. In the past, I couldn't be able to do that because, as you said, I don't have enough security or enough confidence. I also use this sign to know whether someone has grown or not. When I meet people who share with me their weaknesses or they're not scared of talking about their limitations and weaknesses, I know that they have grown. So we need to know some signs that tell us that we have grown, and also to tell us who has grown. So it's good to know. At the same time, also, we have to know what kind of signs we should look for to know whether someone hasn't grown. Of course, to know also whether we are not growing or not. So signs that tell us that we are growing, signs that tell us we are stagnated. So do you have any signs that may tell us that we are stagnating?
Well, I would say yes to that. That one is, are we keeping up with the growth plan? And are we disciplined enough to do just that? Now, I will say, Assegid, that we're not stagnated if we're continuing to work the plan of our mentor and have the accountability partners. If I am continuing to work my plan, you're holding me accountable to that, and I'm willing to get with you. One of the first signs I would say that we're going to stagnate, or let's just say we just don't care enough, is you and I as accountability partners should share information maybe daily, maybe twice a week, whatever frequency we choose. And if I stop making contact with you, as me being accountable to you, it's my responsibility to call you, initiate conversation. If that stops, if it slows down, that's an early indication I am no longer following my growth plan. I am allowing maybe an inner voice that says, you're not going to grow, you're not going to, whatever that is. Now, I need to be vulnerable enough to identify that with you to say, help me through this. That's one of the earliest indications that I can think of that I'm not staying with the plan. I'm allowing this inner voice, let's say, the gremlin maybe it's called, that saying, Assegid, you're not going to be as good as you think this growth plan is going to make you to be. And so you start believing that. And one of the first indications is you stop calling me as an accountability partner. That's one thing right there that is going to be. The other thing is if we have a fear of failure, I would say our attitude needs to be, let's always fail forward. In other words, we set a goal by, let's just pick a time period, week 10, that we have a sign that we wanted to have achieved something. And let's just say we're not there. That's okay. Not a problem. We just came short of the goal, but at least let's keep moving forward. So our attitude needs to be to fail forward, Assegid. And if we're willing to fail forward, we are not a failure. We just came short of a goal. That's okay. That's not a problem. Together, we can work toward the goal. We'll just move it out a little bit further, but nothing, because I have a passion, is going to stop me from achieving the growth that I want to have if I believe in the plan, if I believe in you, and we effectively work together. But it's if we come off that plan, that could be a very early indication that there's something wrong.
Yeah, I like this is the early warning when someone is avoiding. And also there are other signs I'm thinking, right? For example, when I talk to people, I can tell that they are growing because the word they bring, sometimes I even feel like I have to take this like a quotation from that person. Because when someone is growing, the words that come out of them are very powerful. You can see wisdom from them. As you said, they are vulnerable. They are so confident that they don't fear to fail. So if I see someone is hesitant, maybe he's not growing. If I see someone is not really bringing out wise words, then maybe that person is not growing. Because I like, for example, the metaphor seed. For example, you can't just throw a seed and expect it to be successful and bring to you lots of fruits. You have to invest on it. And you can tell between a seed which is nourished, protected, and a seed which is just dumped. So you could see the signs between a well taken care of farm and a farm which is neglected. The same way, because if you want to have a wonderful farm, you have to take care of, fertilize it, take out weeds, give whatever nutrients that farm needs. Otherwise, you can't have a great result from that farm. The same way, you can see somebody's life and say, okay, this person is taking care of himself or herself. You can look at somebody who is not growing, and you can tell that he rejected or she rejected herself, so she's not or he's not growing. I would like to quote Benjamin Franklin. He's one of the wisest persons who lived on earth. He said, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. So growth requires us to continually grow. So how can we develop a discipline to grow on a consistent basis?
And that
this is the action part. The last part we suggest solutions. Yes.
That, Assegid, I am not certain that I can motivate you to grow. You have to have that in yourself. I can't make you want to grow. I can inspire you to grow and maybe increase your rate of growth, but I'm not sure that I can motivate you to grow. So what I'm saying to that is, if you are motivated to grow, and just as you said, just as the farmer, when he plants the seed, when it's put in the right soil and water, fertilizer, it will grow. That analogy relates to the people with whom we associate, the books we choose to read, and so forth. And so, again, I'm going to say signs that a mentor, an accountability partner is going to see growth in you that you wouldn't necessarily see, because you see the growth as just a little bit each day. But our spouse, our accountability partner, can see, I just heard you say something. I just saw you do something that I know earlier you would not have done. I see growth in you, whereas you would say, well, I didn't really realize that. Yes, when you mention it to me, I can now look back and say that, no, at one point I would not have been comfortable doing that. But that's the importance of the books that we read, knowing who we're reading and learning from, because if we're associating with or reading the wrong books, that can be like the weeds that are going to choke out the growth that we know we can have. So we need to be very careful in guarding the mind to ensure we're associating with the right people and we're growing with the right information.
Yeah, we need to have the right source, as you said, and also the right association, and we should keep on growing. As you said, it's very difficult to inspire and motivate someone if he is not. Having the growth plan is not enough, which means we need to put energy into it. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to make every effort. We have to even invest our money, our hard-earned money. Here is what Napoleon Hill, who is the author of Grow and Rich, he said, strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. Now, this is a person who is known worldwide about how all those people we know, successful people, rich people, they become successful and rich because they're growing. So you can't really become rich or successful, or you can't really achieve your success without you growing. So the difference between people who are successful and people who are not succeeding is growth. But growth doesn't come cheap. It requires you to invest your time, which we don't have. We are very busy. I have so many things to do today, but I have to reserve at least a couple of minutes to grow, maybe to read, maybe to write, maybe to talk to someone who can help me grow, and so on, if I am not investing my time. And also it requires us to buy books, to invest on trainings and so on and so forth for us to grow. Do you have any last advice, for example, how to help people grow? It could be mentors, it could be parents, it could be organizations. How can they help people, their people, grow?
You always want to be with people who encourage you. You can't always structure it that way. Some people are going to discourage you and remind you of what you used to be. Assegid, you're never going to make it. So that again is association with friends. But I'm going to say something, Assegid, it may not sound right, it may be counterintuitive. Some of my greatest growth has been through adversity.
Well, I like that.
And so when we experience challenges, it could be financial challenges, it could be job challenges, anything like that. I would do the very best I can, and if I had the opportunity to work with any of you, I would want to work with you to help shape you, nurture you through adversity, because if you have the right attitude, you will overcome any and all adversity. And I would hope that people too would say some of my greatest growth has occurred through adversity. I would never wish adversity on anyone, but just trust me, when it happens, it's not a matter of if. You're going to go through adverse situations. And if our attitude is we will grow through this, you want to make certain, again, you're associated with the right people who will encourage you. But I will grow through any and all adversity that occurs to me. And when that happens, I then want to share with someone else how I made it through that adversity. I'm going to help that person grow. I'm going to grow because I shared my growth with you. That's just one thing that can help overcome discouragement.
I want to give you a quotation, very powerful quotation. Maybe I may not quote it exactly as he said it. Dr. Vincent Norman Peale. Peale. He said that if God wants to give you gifts, He sends your way them in the form of adversity.
Yes.
Which means when you are challenged, when there are adversities, consider them as gifts for you to work out. They look like adversity, they look like problems, they look like challenges, but actually they are gifts as far as you said, that your attitude matters. If your attitude is, hey, this challenge is a gift for me to grow, this adversity, and I relate to you because the most important growth that I experienced, they came following my failure or following an adversity. For that matter, once in a while, maybe in 5 years or so, I always have this challenging adversity, and in the beginning I may feel like, oh, it came to swallow me, just to kill me. And when I am done, it may take me sometimes months or weeks, but when I'm done, I have become a different person. I have grown. So I don't want to pray and say, hey, bring adversities on my way, but if they come, I know that maybe because they are adversity right now because I don't have the growth to handle them. So once I grow, actually the adversity may be there, the challenge may be there, the problem may be there, but I outgrown it. Yeah. So that it doesn't look like any more adversity or problem or challenge. That's why when I meet people confident while facing adversity, I know that these people are people who have grown, because grown people, it doesn't mean that they don't have challenges and adversities, but it means that they outgrown it.
You're absolutely right. Assegid, one of the other signs that we can look toward is when we face adversity, we know inwardly we are stronger than that situation that we are in, and we will successfully make it through that. When we're not as strong as we would otherwise be, we may say, this adversity is wearing me down emotionally, the stress, the whatever. But when we have the right growth, the right attitude, we can say, I wish I weren't going through this, but we will conquer this. We will make it through this. So with your help as my accountability partner, my mentor, you're going to help me, you're going to help encourage me that you can make it. If you have the right attitude, the attitude is everything. The attitude is, I will make it through this. There is no adversity that I believe I am allowed to go through because I will be stronger having gone through this adversity. You can help me. The books I read can help me through this. I will be stronger because of it. Now, don't just let that internalize with you. Share it with someone else. How did you overcome? I will tell you, Assegid, for me personally, I thoroughly enjoy being with those people who have overcome some sort of a challenge, because I know you have an inner strength that you overcame whatever it was that you had to go through. And that inner strength is a sign of growth to me, that you were not going to allow that situation to take you down emotionally or in any other way. Yeah. So I enjoy working with people who have overcome any challenge that's presented to them. I will determine a way to conquer. I love that attitude.
Yeah, I love our discussion. I enjoyed our discussion. Thank you very much for coming on behalf of ISAT, our viewers. Thank you very much once again for coming here and sharing your story.
Well, Assegid, thank you, and thank you very much for taking your time to where I can share with you. Your growth is very, very important, perhaps more important than you know right now, because you're going to help someone else grow.
Dear our viewers, this is my hope that you have enjoyed our discussion. You've got lots of things out of this discussion. Remember this, you want to change the world, you want to change your community, you want to change and be successful, it starts with you. Remember what Mahatma Gandhi said. Be the change that you want to see in the world. You can't change the world, you can't change your community, you can't become successful before you invest on yourself. For that matter, the worst enemy you may have is self. If you overcome, if you outgrown yourself, believe me, opportunities will open up in your workplace, in the marketplace, everywhere. So invest on your growth and be where you want to be in life. So in the future, we're going to bring lots of experts here to help you grow. Until I see you next time, have a wonderful time. Thank you for watching.